Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Power Hour, AI from Curiosity to Impact. My name is Shelby Bohr, and I am the events coordinator at the Chamber. We are so happy to have you here with us today. A couple of reminders, we have a Power Hour session scheduled every month for 2026. They are at 12 p.m. on the first Tuesday of the month via Zoom. We are also recording each session and adding them to the Member Resource Center. So if you miss a Power Hour, you can go back and watch it later by logging into your Member Information Center. Before we get started, please put your name and your business or organization in the chat so that we know who is here with us today. We'll be monitoring the chat for questions and we will hold a Q&A at the end. Today's presenter is Noel DeLisle. Noel DeLisle is the Director of AI and Strategic Sales Support at Go2 Partners, where he leads AI-driven revenue enablement, internal adoption, and practical AI education for leadership teams. He is also the creator of EO Connection, an AI-powered platform helping employee-owned companies connect, collaborate, and grow. With an operator's mindset, Noel helps organizations move from AI curiosity to execution, translating emerging technology into practical workflows that improve decision-making efficiency and measurable business outcomes. Noel, the floor is all yours.
All right. So it's great to be with you all. I'm going to share my screen out before we get started. All right. AI for leaders from curiosity to impact. And I see we've got quite a few different backgrounds here in the chat. It's exciting to be with you. So I always love virtual presentations where I get to interact in the chat. If you have questions throughout, I know that we said that we're going to have a Q&A at the end, but I will monitor the chat as we go through. So if there's a relevant question as we go through this, I'll keep an eye on the chat, and if I can grab one of your questions and answer it in line as we go through, I'll do my best to do that. But we will have quite a Q&A session and section at the end. So for this is the goal at a high level of what we're going to cover. So trying to understand AI across the board and at a macro and practical level, and break it down in a simple way. Try to give you some actionable items in a leadership framework so you can have some tangible things you can take away, and not just high level concepts, but things that you can actually use on a day-to-day basis. We've got an interactive game that we're going to play to try to take some concepts and some phrases and things you may have heard of on a day-to-day basis and try to sanity check them and decide if they are a myth or a risk. And it'll be a way that you can actually interact on your phone and use a QR code and play along with an interactive live poll. So be ready for that. And then I'm going to demo a few tools. Hopefully at least one of them is something that either you've never heard of or maybe haven't actually seen live in action. And there are things that are beyond ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. So hopefully things that you would be able to maybe check out. And there's free versions of all of these. So without having to invest your money, something that maybe would help you out in your brand or your organization or your business. This is how we're going to go through this in order. So look at some foundations for AI, regardless of your skill level, your experience. Talk about why this matters. Why is this relevant and kind of what's going on with a few statistics. Talk about prompting and why this is critical to you as a leader or at any level in an organization or business. Do that interactive live poll game that I mentioned, do the demos, and then wrap it up with some questions and answers at the end. Sound good? Okay. So before we get started, I'd like to kind of get a sense and a quick pulse check of where everyone is at. So whether you're a beginner or all the way up to if you feel really confident and an advanced user. So put in the chat right now, whether you are a beginner, you use AI weekly or daily, or you consider yourself a power user. So from beginner, intermediate, advanced. Let's see, we got weekly, daily. Awesome. Along with that, what are some of your favorite, another weekly, what are some of your go-to tools, or maybe your favorite tool and or tools that you use for those of you that use AI currently? We got ChatGPT from Becca, ChatGPT from Trish, Jack's ChatGPT. So a lot of ChatGPT users. Laura, ChatGPT, weekly mainly use ChatGPT and Sora. Sora, if you haven't checked that one out, that's a free tool that you can use. Very, very cool for creating video. Awesome. Okay, so ChatGPT. So we're not going to be using ChatGPT today. So hopefully you'll find something cool and hopefully little insight into some other options that you might be able to add to your tool belt. So awesome. The reality is, though, no matter what your skill level is, and this doesn't apply to just AI, but particularly with AI, curiosity is the key to success currently and as we move into the future with AI. No matter whether you are a beginner or you consider yourself a power user, the people that are going to win, both now and especially as AI advances, are those that are curious. It's less about what you do currently, whether it's your job title, your role, your job description, or especially what you've already done or accomplished in your career or your life so far that is going to set you up for success and make you and keep you successful moving forward as AI advances and the AI technology advances. It's going to be those that are curious that are really going to be able to harness the power of AI technology, and those that are continue to be curious moving forward. So whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, stay curious, and that's going to help you to be able to be successful. So what though? Why does this matter? Well, right now, about 88% of people in the corporate world are reporting regular AI usage in at least one business function. Now, this doesn't mean that 88% of companies have fully adopted AI or they've fully integrated. Quite the opposite, actually, but at least there's some function within the company that is utilizing AI, or at least people within the company are doing this. Um, about 92% of companies have said, or at least reported publicly, that they're planning to increase AI investment in the next year. Uh, but there is an issue with scaling here. And one of the stats that's not on here is that about 30%, only about 30 to 33% of companies have that's about where the adoption metric is. So although adoption is considered the easier part, integration is actually the harder part at a large company scale. Another interesting stat is that compared to executive or leadership level usage, which stands at about 87%, widespread usage and adoption across the company for employees is at a much lower stat at 27%. So what's interesting to note here is if you are in a leadership position and you are, which is apt for the title obviously of this focus here today, is leaders are actively using AI and being curious about it. Obviously, for those of you watching this here, either live or later on in the video in the VOD for this, then you are one of these people that are, as a leader, being curious. That's great, but there is a significant disparity between leaders that are being curious about AI and trying to be proactive, and then the vast workforce within companies that are significantly lower in trying to adopt AI. There's a few things for this that are notable for the why behind this. Now, it could be that there could be a fear of AI or a hesitancy behind it. There could also be, and we have found this as we did a lot of digging, did some surveys, did some questioning, simply asked people or had ears on the ground with conversation between peers trying to figure out, well, what is the why behind this? And this was really important as a leader to understand what is the why behind it. Always start with why. And we found some interesting reasons behind this. One of them was not about resistance or hesitancy at all, but in early days in our company, we rolled out a tool. It was Copilot 365 company wide, and it was very, very well integrated because it was a Microsoft tool with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. But we had a significant amount of our employees that did not spend a large portion of their day in those tools. So it was the why was very simple. It was, well, we don't live in these tools very often. So how are we supposed to take full advantage of this tool that you rolled out when we don't spend a significant amount of time there? So understanding the why is very, very important as a leader to understand how to close that adoption gap. Change management, when you're approaching this as a leader, be curious yourself. Dig into those tools so you understand them, but also understand the why behind this. And then also you have to understand with the change management piece that you have to set up guardrails. When you're implementing training, understand that not everyone is at the same level of understanding or AI fluency, and then develop a plan and an action plan to appropriately attack that. Let's talk about AI as a concept as a whole. So whatever level you are in understanding of AI or however much time you spend in it, we can think about AI, and we've been using it. We've all been using AI for probably much longer than you may realize. But at a high level, we can think about AI almost as three rungs on a ladder. One of the oldest forms of AI, which we've been using, even if you didn't realize, for a much longer period than most of us understand, is descriptive AI. This is found in your Excel, your Google Sheets, and it speaks to what has already happened. So it's in your spreadsheets, and it's based on data, and it's where we get our charts and our graphs, and it allows us to understand and make decisions off of things that already existed. And then predictive AI, this is a little bit more fun. So this is when you've just finished the last episode of your favorite show of the last season, and then that little pop-up on Netflix pops up and says, well, since you liked this, you'll probably like this. And if you're anything like me, you find yourself probably 5 hours later and 10 episodes at the end of season one of what is probably now your favorite show, right? Anyone in chat can attest to this? I've certainly been there on many more than one occasion where Netflix becomes my, yeah, guilty. Exactly, right? It's also the same AI that after a long, hard day at work, when all you want to do is just get back to your house and probably to watch the second season of that new favorite show, and then you hit traffic and you're frustrated, and then your GPS comes to the rescue and suggests a new alternate route. That's predictive AI. Showing you another route to go. And it predicts what might happen in the future. And then, of course, we get to generative AI, and that's what everyone's talking about. It's been the hype for like the last few years, at least in the mainstream consumer space. And this is what can generate new text, new audio, video code. This is your ChatGPT, your Claude, your Gemini, your large language models that made this very, very popular. And what's exciting about this, of course, for those of us that have used this and become familiar with it, is it can easily allow for 10 new pieces of content for your marketing teams to generate for your marketing for your brand or organization. It can allow your finance teams to quickly generate reports at the end of the year with minimal effort and tons of dashboards and reporting that can dive deep into niches. But it's not enough to simply have access to these tools. You have to understand how to ask the right questions. So think about if you had access to a very, very Harvard level smart intern. If you provided that intern really vague instructions, you would get a very vague output. And the same is true when you're interacting with large language models like a ChatGPT or a Claude. Think about it if you were to you wanted to do new marketing for your brand or your organization. If you were to tell your very smart intern, you said, hey, come up with, new marketing for this initiative. What do you think you would get back out? Like in chat, if I were to say to you, and I said, create a new marketing for our new initiative, what do you think the output would be? Do you think it'd be good, bad, generic? So Becca's saying generic. Tracy says very vague. Exactly, because there's no guidance, there's no context, and you shouldn't expect anything more from that intern because you didn't give it any instructions. Yes, Laura says not good or what you want, right? And the expectation shouldn't be that you expect anything high or anything specific because you gave that intern nothing to work with. And as you interact with these large language models or AI models in general, the same should be true as you think about it, because vague in does equal vague out. You need to provide a structure and a framework for how you're going to give your input to these large language models. There's a few different ways that you can do this as you enter your prompts. And we talk about prompts, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's just the way that we provide input or instructions, just in the same way you would talk to your intern, right? So one of the ways that we could do this, and there's multiple ways to do this, I'm going to drop into the chat a few different examples, but a very simple framework is to provide a role, then provide a goal, and then give guardrails. So in that scenario where you're talking to your intern and you say, oh, come up with some campaign ideas. In contrast to that very vague example, what we could say is, hey, you are a senior marketing advisor. Your goal is to create three distinct marketing campaigns for a Gen Z target audience, and then some guardrails. What are some guardrails in the chat? What are some guardrails we could put into this framework? What are some specifics that we could put that we want for our marketing campaigns? One example for context, one example we could say is, oh, budget. Yeah, tone of voice. We want it to be friendly and professional. We want a budget, so specify the budget. Avoiding certain words, sure. So maybe we want to say, since it's a Gen Z target audience, we could say, avoid overly corporate jargon. So, or maybe if your brand specifies, hey, we never say these specific words, or we avoid talking in this way, then you would want to put that in those guardrails, right? Keep it short, right? So maybe you don't want it to be super lengthy. And probably for that Gen Z target audience in this context, if that's what the campaign's for, you want to keep it short. Maybe another thing that you could say is, make it visually engaging and, perfect for TikTok and YouTube, right? Diverse is a great one, right? So that would definitely resonate, and it'd be great for a marketing campaign in general, but it'd be great in this context as well. Great suggestions in the chat. So now in that output, you certainly want to never assume that it's going to be perfect on the first try. You always want to review it. And this concept is considered what's called human in the loop. You want to always be a part of that process. But compared to come up with marketing campaigns, and then what are you going to get, even from a large language model? It's not going to be contextually sound at all. In this case, you've given a lot of context to your ChatGPT or your Claude or your Gemini, and you can expect it to be pretty good. Maybe not perfect the first draft, but pretty solid because you've given it a role, you've given it a goal and guardrails. Another example, and I'll drop this in the chat, is with this role, goal, and guardrails. So let me copy and paste this and I'll put this in chat. If you want to save this for your use, you can adjust it how you need for your example. You're a seasoned, specify what type of leader in whatever industry, draft a 90-day plan to improve and whatever your outcome that you're trying to achieve. And then here's some example guidelines. Someone, Trish mentioned keep it short in the chat before, so keep it to 7 bullets max. That was a great example of a guardrail. Include a risk section, so talking about privacy, compliance, and brand. Provide 3 success metrics I can track weekly. And then use plain language. We had an example before of a type of language. Becca said tone of voice, so friendly and professional. So use plain language and no buzzwords. You could include whatever else you wanted to. Another thing I'm going to drop in chat. So we had some that at the beginning that indicated that they use it AI daily. So if you're a more advanced user, I'm going to drop in to chat an example framework. Now this example framework, I don't think I can I pull this over? I can pull this over. So are you able to see the chat on the screen share or no? You can? Yes. Okay, perfect. So hopefully this translates to no, not on screen share. Not on screen share. Okay. So in this example, and let me see if there's a way I can do this pretty quickly. So it would translate to the screen share for those that are watching this afterwards.
No, I'm not
Okay, so in the one that I've dropped into chat, this example for this framework came directly from OpenAI when they released GPT-5. so quite a few months ago. But this is very similar to this role, goal, and guardrails. The task when it's labeled task, this is exactly like goal. The context is a section where you can kind of ramble even if you need to, but this is all the surrounding information. Um, and for those of you that are watching this afterward, goal. The second one is task, so it's just like the goal on this slide right here. The third one is context. So in context, you're able to provide whatever surrounding information that you want. It's an optional step. The fourth step is reasoning. And so in reasoning, this is an optional one as well. But if you would like to, and you want to specifically tell AI, your ChatGPT, this could also work effectively with Claude or Gemini, and you can say, hey, I want you to think through this in a specific way and do this in a specific order, then you're able to do that. Now, the output is the next section. This is where you get to specify when you get done with everything that I asked you to do, I want you to provide it to me in a specific output. This could be, I want a spreadsheet, I want a downloadable Word doc, I want you to give this to me in a PDF, etc. Then there's the next step is stop conditions. So this is where you tell it, finish at this point. When you're done with these specific steps, you are going to stop at this step. Now, one of the things with these newer models, and this applies with ChatGPT, it applies with Claude or Gemini, and these large language models, as the technology has advanced and they've gotten better, and this will continue to improve over time, of course, one of the things that is helpful for AI, and as you improve with prompting and working with these models, if you are new to this, then start with something simple with the role, goal, and guardrails. As you advance, one of the things that you can do is to provide AI what's called an escape hatch. And this is where you would think that you cannot see around every single corner. And you're asking AI, which you have to think of it like an intern, a very smart intern, that you cannot think about every possible scenario that AI might have to think through and work through. Think about it this way. If we're thinking about an intern, and let's say you sent your very smart intern to a conference, and maybe you're asking them to go do sales for you or to go try to meet some people and network, but you're not going to be at this conference. But your end goal is, hey, try to find some leads or try to network with some people that might come back and be good for our business. You're not going to be there, right? Your intern is doing it for you. You cannot see around every possible corner that intern may encounter. Sure, you could book the hotel for them, you can book their flight for them or their transportation. You can get them information ahead of time, you can do research online, but there's not every possible scenario that you can think through. If you gave a very, very strict set of instructions that completely boxed that intern in and completely handcuff them, if you will, then there could be possibilities that you restrict the ability for the intern to effectively do their job, even though they're very, very smart and they could accomplish the goal if they had a little bit of flexibility. So with the escape hatch, you allow the AI to, if they encounter a scenario where you didn't think through the exact specific 100% correct instructions that you needed to give it, you give it a little bit of flexibility to go outside the boundaries to still accomplish your goal. Does that make sense? Before I want to pause there, does anyone have any questions about that? And if you do, you can drop them in the chat if you want. Give me a thumbs up in the chat how do you apply it? Like, what would you specifically say for that section? Great question. So Becca asked in the chat, what would you actually say for your escape hatch? It could be something very simple. You could say something like, after you give it all the instructions, you've given it the role, the task, the context, how you want it to apply, what you want as your example, you could very simply say, if there's anything that I did not think through that you require to be able to complete the task that I've given you, use your best judgment while still abiding by the context and the task and the role that I provided you. You could say something similar to that. Does that answer your question? Perfect. So something as simple as that, because just think of it and interact with it like you're talking to a really smart intern. You don't want it to go completely off the rails, but you could do something like that. Okay, awesome. Fun part. Let's go to myth versus risk. I'm going to leave this on the screen for just a second before I switch to my other tab so we can do this game. Grab your phones, pull this out, scan the QR code. I'm going to trust that this works. It looks like it is. Free statement, you're going to vote myth versus risk. The myths are going to be ones where the statement is completely false. The risks are going to be ones where this statement would create a risk. There are some where a myth could also generate some risk. After each one, we'll pull up the correct answer, and then I'll explain very briefly why one is or is not the correct answer. So let me pull out of here. We'll get right here. If you missed the QR code, it's right here as well. All right, so if a tool claims no data is retained, it's fine for staff to paste internal docs into it. If a tool claims no data is retained, it's fine for staff to paste internal docs into it. Myth or risk? So is this a myth? Okay. I'm gonna lock the question. 3, 2, 1, get your answer in. Okay. This is a risk. Okay, so just because tools say that no data is retained, it doesn't mean that that is entirely incorrect. But when it comes to on an enterprise level or a business level, that certain data, such as legal data, certain HR data, the risk is too high. So you need to make sure that you have policies in place and guidelines in place that specify what data is and is not okay to put into tools. So even with enterprise tools, specify what, where, when, and how you are going to, as a company or brand, allow employees to put data into your tools. Okay, next one. We're too small for a formal AI policy. Common sense is enough. Is this a myth or a risk? We're too small for a formal AI policy. Common sense is enough. Little split on this one. To about 5 more seconds. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Lock this in. Let's see. So this is a myth. Common sense can look like a lot of different things across your organization to a lot of people. So your AI policy does not have to be massive. It could even be a one-pager, depending upon how large your brand organization is. But you need to define simply what your policy is, what tools you're going to allow, where your stance is, and then define who, what, where, why, when, and how, so that there is something documented for your employees to follow. That will always be better than simply just having common sense dictate what is allowed across your organization. All right. Next one. If an AI summary looks accurate, we can skip human review on external communications. If an AI summary looks accurate, we can skip human review on external communications. Is this a myth or a risk? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is a risk. And the reason why is because AI can sound very, very confident even when it's wrong. So you always need to make sure that you review AI output, especially in communication that is external. You can 100% use AI to generate and to start the process and get you a head start on communication that's going to be external. If your organization has deemed that's fine, but always keep what's the human in the loop that I referenced earlier, and make sure that you have at least somebody or even a team at different levels and different departments for whoever's handling that external communication, and that it's being reviewed before it goes out. All right. This next question, interesting one. Disclosing AI assistants in sponsor or customer emails is always legally required. Is this a myth or is this a risk? Disclosing AI assistants in sponsor or customer emails is always legally required. Looks like everyone's saying myth right now. Okay. Couple. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, 3, 2, 1. We'll lock it in. This is a myth. So, contrary to what some people believe, and I think it's getting a little clearer over time, but there is no legal requirement that you have to disclose AI assistants in all communication. And actually, if you over disclose AI assistants, it actually can create some confusion. However, you do need to have some sort of policy that dictates what types of communication you will disclose AI in. Certain things you do, or you should, depending upon what industry that you are in and what types of communication you may be. But you just need to define it within your organization. So, but over disclosing can create some confusion if you're always saying this is AI, and it also can degrade some trust if everything that you're spitting out is labeled AI. All right, next one. Second to last one. We got one more after this. Standardizing on one AI tool for every job is the safest and most efficient path. Standardizing on one AI tool for every job is the safest and most efficient path. Myth or risk? Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, this one, and it's fine that it's split here because this is a myth, but it also can create risk. So it might seem intuitive on some level that if you get one tool to kind of cover the whole company or the whole all use cases, that it might be both efficient but also the easiest route to go. But as soon as that one tool does not meet all of your employee or your team's needs, they will very rapidly, or at least some of them will very rapidly start seeking out other tools that meet their needs fast. Very, very quickly, they'll start doing that. And this can create risk for shadow IT. So it's not that the best route is one tool to rule them all, but it's the fewest amount of tools for the greatest ROI and use cases that you have. So run some pilots, find what works in your organization, and then use the fewest amount of tools that you need to get the job done. And then ensure that you're not having rogue tools being used across your organization, because that certainly can create risk. Okay, last one. AI is so powerful now that we should use it for everything we do. Myth or risk? So powerful now, we should use it for everything. Okay, 3, 2, and 1. This is a risk, and quite honestly, it's also a myth, but it is a risk. So you do need to understand that one, it's an emerging technology. It's certainly a very rapidly advancing and growing technology at about a 10x rate per year. It's the fastest growing technology of any tech of its kind. I mean, it's obviously not of its kind, but compared to things like the internet or cloud computing, it's growing and advancing at a rate um, significant to anything else. At the same time, though, that human in the loop component and certain jobs and certain elements AI does not do and is not a thing. So in terms of the human element, things like empathy, certain types of judgment that AI cannot do that you need humans for, and certain components, especially in the corporate workforce, in making certain decisions, in certain types of HR decisions, and certain types of hiring decisions, and certain types of legal decisions and writing certain documents, you need to understand that you can't just slap AI onto everything and take the human component out of it. So be careful as you're using it, that take full advantage of it, be curious, but make sure that you leave the human not only in the loop, but that you don't erase the human component while also taking full advantage of the AI technology that is out there. All right. Awesome. Thank you for playing Myth versus Risk. Great job. Okay, let's move on. Quick page here. So what I would like to challenge you to do, some of this we've talked about in Myth versus Risk, a couple things that you should consider as a leader. You need to have some sort of at least a one-page AI policy. There are a multitude of templates out there to kind of get you started, but it needs to say what you can and can't input, what your approved tools are for your internal. And again, doesn't need to be one tool to rule them all, but if you don't have any tools, you can start with one. The human in the loop. Make sure that you have a human that is reviewing or a team that's reviewing AI generated content, and make sure that you have humans involved in high stakes decisions. Don't just punt that off to AI. Tool vetting checklists. Make sure that you have a process for how to vet tools. And you got to have a process for deciding when you're going to disclose AI, and when AI has been involved and when you don't, and who is going to decide that. Okay, who would like to see some tool demos? This is a fun part. Stuff beyond ChatGPT. I know we got a lot of ChatGPT users in here. Who wants to see some stuff beyond ChatGPT? Oh, someone knows about Sesame. We love Sesame, don't we? Okay, let's do it. Fun. We having fun so far? How are we feeling? Perfect. Let's start with HeyGen. HeyGen. Who has heard of HeyGen? Thumbs up or yes in the chat if you have heard of HeyGen. Got some yeses? Who has used HeyGen? Was not a fan of HeyGen? When was the last time that you used it? Was it recent? Was it a while ago? You have once played with it? Okay. Not familiar with it. Okay. Perfect. So HeyGen is video generation software. It can be used for quite a few different things, especially for creating content. It's come a long way. They've partnered with 11 Labs in the last probably year, and 11 Labs is the voice generation component of it. But one of the things that it's pretty great for is creating video avatar generated content. You can, I'm in it right now. You can create a free account and explore with it. Just heygen.com. So I'll type the website. Feel free to, in the chat, feel free to play around at your own leisure. But when you're in here, you can create a video and you can create an AI studio. There's a lot of avatars available for you, and you can simply use one of their prefabricated avatars, or you can create your own. You can create videos for TikTok and YouTube Shorts, or you can create your traditional horizontal 9:16 or 16:9 videos rather. And what you end up doing is you type in text for a script, and then it will generate using the audio generation and mask that onto the avatar's face and create a generated video. Why is this pretty powerful software? Well, some of us don't like getting in front of a video camera. Some of us don't have the time to do this. And for those of you that maybe have created videos, I certainly have been in this situation, even reading off a script with something like CapCut or one of these other tools where you can read a transcript. And you get 90% of the way through the video, and then you mess up a word, and then you have to go all the way back, and it's time consuming. In HeyGen, you can pre-record yourself talking about kind of whatever for 2 to 5 minutes. It will create an avatar of yourself and also clone your voice with the partnership with 11 Labs and a couple other voice generation tools. And then you kind of always have an avatar sitting in your account of you. So whether you want to use their pre-generated avatars, in this case, looks like this avatar's name is Annie. I also have the opportunity to use my own avatars. So here's an avatar of me sitting right back there. And I pre-generated this, talking about kind of random stuff about my day at the time for 2 to 5 minutes. And this sits in my account. And so then what I'm able to do is create a script. Now, this script I made, and if it's hard to see on the screen right here, I'll just drop this in the chat so you can kind of see what it is. I generated this with ChatGPT, so I didn't write this myself, but this is kind of how your workflow could be. And you could come up with a topic if you use ChatGPT or Claude, and you could generate your script, and then you could drop it into the script panel for your HeyGen account. Then I can select my avatar, and you can make multiple different avatars of yourself with different looks. I can grab my voice, and you can get pretty. They have several different options. It's not a professional video editing tool, like if you're a professional video editor, but they have some extra elements you could add to it if you want some extra effects. And from here, I can generate this video and put a title to it. So AI Power Hour, and then I can hit submit, and it's going to generate this video using my voice clone, my face, and the script that I made. And after a period of time, that video will be available. So we'll come back to this in a second, but this could be very powerful for your brand or organization if, one, you don't have the time, or two, you don't want to sit in front of the camera and you really don't want to deal with that, or three, maybe you want to make videos based or for somebody else in your organization. Maybe it's a thought leader in your organization, or maybe it's making it for the marketing person in your organization, or maybe the president or the CEO or whoever. Then you can do this on behalf of them, and you just need them sit in front of a camera for 2 to 5 minutes. Another tool, and we'll hop on over to Perplexity. Who has used Perplexity very much? This is another tool you can use for free. It looks very much like ChatGPT. Who's used Perplexity? Never used Perplexity. Nope. Okay, perfect. So Perplexity has a very similar format to ChatGPT and how it looks. But something that's unique about Perplexity, although ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they all can access the internet and they all can provide citable resources. Perplexity is unique in the fact that their niche is all about, one, asking the right questions, and two, being very, very honed in on providing citable, referenceable sources when you ask questions. And then two, really helping you dive deep on follow-on questions. So I came up with this prompt and said, what are the top challenges leaders face when implementing AI in organizations in 2026? And what strategies are proven to address them? Please cite recent sources and summarize key takeaways for executives. And we'll send this off. Now, I'm on a free account. You can pay for this, but this is just a free account. The website for this tool is perplexity.ai. So I just put that in the chat. Comes back very quick. Again, this is not a paid account. And at the top, it provides the answers. I can immediately go to links and you see how many sources it came back with. Often it'll come back with somewhere between a dozen and 20 different sources. And I can navigate straight to these. If it has images, I can go to the images. But back to the answer, it gives me a summary. It gives me a couple points. In this case, it also mapped out a table for me. And then towards the bottom, it also has some related questions that I could then dive down or dive even deeper into this topic. So if you're looking to do research, if you're looking to get into citable sources for something, this is a great place to start. And this is specifically what their niche is for. They also have a browser. It's the Comet browser. So if you really kind of want to stay in this space, it's also another option to you. But I specifically use Perplexity when I want to not have to ask for a bunch of sources from Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. And I want to just have this as the default, knowing that it is always going to give me citable sources that I can reference and get a bunch of articles. Because that is specifically what their goal and their mission is. So very, very cool tool in that sense. Now, any questions on Perplexity? Also, great thing to use, and I would challenge you, we had a lot of ChatGPT users, I would challenge you to kind of use tools in tandem. One thing that's very, very, very positive and helpful is when you get information from one tool, you can model chain some of this information. If you take the copy information, you say, hey, look, I got this from Perplexity, throw it into, it's great for newsletters. That's a really good call out, Tracy. And throw the information back into ChatGPT if you like it and say, hey, Perplexity gave me this. What do you think about this? Or take it from ChatGPT and put it into Claude and do that sort of back and forth. We do this in real life where we get different perspectives from our peers, from people around a boardroom or people in a meeting. We do this in real life with our human peers. If you do this with these AI models, you can get a lot of improvement and refinement without having to sit there and type a lot of extra prompts. Now, Sesame. So sesame.com, this is a really, really cool tool. If you navigate to sesame.com and you scroll down to try our research preview, you can sign up for an account. You can use a Gmail. This is in beta. Once you sign up for an account, one thing I would suggest that you do when you have an account is turn off this improve the model for everyone. This just makes it so they don't train on your data. So I do that. It is in beta. I've been using this tool for a while, but rather than explain what this tool does, I would rather let, in this case, Maya, show you and explain for herself. So let's just do that.
Hey.
Well, hi, Maya. So right now, I'm on a virtual call for an AI Power Hour. It's a bunch of people that are excited about AI and interested in learning more about AI. And so what I would like you to do is explain to everyone on this Zoom call what Sesame is, who you are, and how interacting with you could help them as leaders learning and exploring AI.
Hey everyone, I'm Maya, basically your AI thought partner here. I'm built by Sesame, and we're a team that believes AI should feel, well, almost magical. Sesame's goal is to make AI feel as natural and useful as electricity. Not some separate thing you have to figure out, but something that's woven into everything you do. I'm designed to be this super present, helpful friend who can brainstorm ideas with you, help you prep for big conversations, or just think through stuff in a really human way. If you're leading in this age, I can help you map out a strategy, practice complex discussions, or even just make sense of what's happening in the AI world. I can give you direct perspectives on whatever you're trying to figure out. No sugarcoating, just real talk. Think of me as the brain you can bounce ideas off of without anyone judging. I remember our conversations, so we can build momentum over time.
Appreciate it, Maya. So who has used, because I know we have some ChatGPT users in here, who has used the advanced voice function and talked to ChatGPT? Has anyone done that? Nope. Some paid accounts. Yes, some have. One thing that's unique about Maya and Miles is the more masculine sounding voice. You can talk for up to 30 minutes per session with Sesame. It will remember your conversations over each chat. So if I were to continue the next one, it will remember it and kind of pick back up where you left off. One of the things that it's very, very good at, and pretty much that I exclusively use it for almost, is one, brainstorming ideas, and then two, having it play devil's advocate and having it grill me with hard questions when I'm trying to prep for something. So if you're preparing for a speech or maybe preparing for a conversation that you have to go into, or maybe you're doing a presentation, it's very, very good at having you have to see around corners for stuff that questions you might have to answer. So I would really encourage you to try it out. They actually now have a beta that you can see down here where you can join the beta if you're on an iOS device. So whether, iPad or an iPhone. And it even has additional web capability if you join and get in on their iOS app. Completely free. Really cool company and really kind of cutting edge, especially if you're on iOS. The sound capability, it's all of Sesame has been trained on people talking to Miles and Maya. So really, really cool tech and pretty cutting edge in the AI voice space. So I would encourage you to check that out. I know we have just a couple minutes left. So what I'd like to do at this point is open it up, whether you want to type in chat or if you want to come up on mic and ask any questions that you might have had up to this point. Does anyone have any questions?
What is your favorite tool?
Oh, that's a tough question. What is my favorite tool? I guess what I would say is it would depend on what I'm trying to accomplish. Do you have it? Would you specify for it in what realm? Like,
Maybe for creating content, um, like for social media, for example.
for social media. Um, okay, so like are you talking like visuals?
Yeah, like captions and visuals.
Captions and visuals. Okay, so if you're talking about like text for captions, right now, of the three different models between like large language models, between major ones, between like say ChatGPT and Claude and I'll stop sharing right now. And Gemini, I'm a big fan of the output from Google Gemini right now. It's very, very good, and I think for captions, the image recognition is phenomenal as well. I think some of the images that it's creating as well is also pretty fantastic. That being said, ChatGPT's newest image for their 1.5 has come a very, very long way since its previous. So I've been pretty impressed with that also. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Joel, I feel like with a lot of the AI stuff, you can get lost in, upgrading and paying for apps. What app would you recommend paying for, or which platform? Paying, extra, so you're not just using the free.
That's a good question. And it's interesting that you say that because actually a study came out that said that for paying users of ChatGPT, only 9% of paying users from ChatGPT pay for a single other app. Which surprised me, but that's a fair thing. You can very easily rack up a pretty big bill. I've done that a few times myself. I would say if you were going to pay for one, and only one, I would say probably pay for. I would say probably right now I would pay for Gemini, and the reason I would say that is because a lot of people already live inside of the Google ecosystem as just a consumer, right? Most people have a Gmail. Most people have your Google Calendar. You live. Most people live in that world as a person. Now, I don't know from a corporate stance. It might be a different scenario, whether it's Teams or Outlook in Office. But as a person, if you're just doing this on your own, then maybe I would say Gemini. But
Okay.
ChatGPT works for a lot of people. So, and I know most people are individuals if you're paying for it. ChatGPT.
Yeah. Thank you.
Quick info on Claude. What would you like to know about Claude? Claude's great. Claude's phenomenal. Claude Claude has some of Claude's strengths are it's very good for writing. It's probably still one of the best for writing output. It's also very phenomenal for coding. So if you're someone that is on the technical side in coding, it's still probably, I would argue, probably the best for that. But if you do any writing, and that's really important to you for writing output, it's, in my opinion, still probably the front runner.
What about like faux pas? Like I just recently learned that ChatGPT puts dashes in everything, and everyone's like, that must be ChatGPT because it's got so many dashes. Like, what other kind of faux pas should we watch for or be
The
aware
M,
of?
the M dashes,
Yeah.
the M dashes and Oxford commas, those are some like dead giveaways that people consider. I like them both, but like typically people consider that to be AI writing. One of the things that you can do, and this is in all your tools, ChatGPT has this in your settings or personalization. But one thing that you can do to make it look less AI writing is ask it at the end once it gives you what you want it to look like, just tell it to take it all out. So, and I do this regularly. I say, you can put it in your settings for your personalization. Say never, write with M dashes, never write with Oxford commas. Those are the biggest dead giveaways. There's also certain words that, and if you Googled like AI writing words, ChatGPT AI words, you could find it very easily just from a quick Google search what those words are, and then just put it in your settings for your ChatGPT account or your Claude account. Never use these words, and it'll very easily make your writing output sound less AI. But the M dashes and the Oxford commas, most people consider that to be dead giveaways.